Well, welcome everybody. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Really glad that you're here today. This is the first lunch of our semester, and I want to especially welcome anybody that's here for the first time. I met several of you coming in that this was your first time, and we're really especially glad that you're here. We're going to have 10 consecutive lunches and sessions from today up to, I think it runs right up to Easter. And we'll be working with material from the second half of this book by C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity. And I'm going to be teaching, and Dr. Ed Song, who I've not seen walk in yet, but he is on the faculty here at LSU, he's going to teach some. C.S. Lewis will not be here. He's dead. Somebody always asks me about that. When's C.S. Lewis coming? He won't be here. But I do have several guest speakers that are going to come in and lead this semester. I'll tell you more about that later, but some folks I'm very excited about. If you haven't done this before, let me tell you what happens. We always serve a free hot meal, and then myself or Dr. Song leads a discussion which takes, I try to keep it right about 15 minutes, no longer, because I know you need to get on to your next event or next class. And when I say we're reading through Mere Christianity, I don't have the illusion that everybody in here is reading all of the book. I hope some of you are. I know that some of you are. But even if you're not, that's no problem at all. What I'm doing is taking usually just a short passage from the chapters in Mere Christianity in sequence, and then I'm sort of noodling on that to talk about the idea of mere Christianity. And if you've never done this with us before, I'll just define that for you. If you've been here before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you've never been here before, mere Christianity is what the term Lewis used to talk about those beliefs that Christians have held in common all down to the time of Christ. So we're focusing here on the things that we hold in common as Christians, as opposed to differences between denominations. You're not really going to hear me speak about the differences at all. I'm going to focus on what he called mere Christianity, which was the core beliefs of Christianity. And I hope that wherever you are on the Christian spectrum, that you'll be able to find, that you'll feel like I'm speaking your language. And if you're not a Christian, I hope that you will experience this as sort of a gracious invitation to listen to what Christians have to say. And we'll certainly give you the opportunity to speak as well. So I hope that's the way that you will experience it. I'm going to jump right in today. We are beginning, if you're reading the book, we're in the book 4, chapter 1. It's the chapter called Making and Begetting. But before I get to that, let me ask you, does the term double rainbow all the way mean anything to you? How many of you know what I'm talking about? Double rainbow all the way. A few of you, okay. Well, let me describe this thing, and then you can look it up on your smartphone or on your when you get to class. YouTube posted this clip, I think it was in 2009, of this guy who is at Yosemite Bear Mountain. And he steps outside of his home. This is a real life thing, and he's filming first a single rainbow in the sky, and then as he's watching a double rainbow. This is a three-minute clip. You've got to look it up. Look up double rainbow all the way. It's worth your time. It's hilarious. It's just 3 minutes long. But this clip has had over 32 million hits. That's a lot of people. It's one of the top 10, I think. 32 million, it's about 30 seconds, and they have t-shirts you can buy that say double rainbow all the way. If you haven't seen this, the dialogue that this guy says, while he's watching this rainbow, he says, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh, it's so intense. Yeah, what does it mean? Oh, I copied all this word for word. Oh my God! A triple rainbow! And then he breaks down crying. You've seen this? Can anybody do this better than me? Somebody do this? He breaks down crying, and he says, finally, he says, oh, what does it mean? It's a double, complete rainbow right in my front yard. It's too much. It's too intense. Oh, God! Oh, my God. And it goes on in that vein, just on and on and on and on. Okay, so you should watch it, and you'll laugh. But, so imagine, this is my point. Imagine that this guy, the double rainbow all the way guy, okay, he has this experience. And the next day, imagine that he comes to church, let's say here. It could be anywhere you go to church, but let's just say he comes to church here. We have church, we've decided to have it the same time every week. We've decided to have it the same day on Sunday, and we decided to have it at 10:30 and 6 o'clock every week without changing. So say he comes here to either a 10:30 service or a 6 o'clock service, and he walks in, and I'm leading the service. And in our tradition, he's going to hear some ancient prayers, okay? And we call these prayers in our tradition collects, but they're just prayers. And there's one called, for instance, the collect for the last Sunday of Epiphany. I'm praying, and I pray this way. I pray, "O God, who before the passion of your only begotten Son revealed his glory upon the mountain, grant to us that we, beholding by faith the light of his countenance, may be strengthened to bear our cross and be changed into his likeness in glory." And I continue in that vein. And then later on in the service, everybody in church stands up, and I say, all right, we're going to say the Nicene Creed. In your tradition, it might be another creed. But our whole group stands up, and we say together, "We believe in God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, of all that is, seen and unseen. We believe in one Lord, Jesus Christ, the only Son of God, eternally begotten of the Father, God from God, light from light, true God from true God," and on in that vein. Okay? Now let me ask you, just use your imagination. What do you think might be the double rainbow all the way guy's response to this experience? Just a guess. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, he might like the rainbow a whole lot more. I mean, do they really measure up as an equal kind of experience? Thank you. He might like the rainbow more. I mean, these, when I lead my service at least, these are not times of high emotion in church when we say these things. I mean, nobody says, "Oh my God, double collect all the way." And rarely do people leap up and say, "The Nicene Creed, oh my God." They don't tend to do that. Now, maybe they do that at your church, but they don't tend to do that at our church very much. It's a great creed, but they don't respond that way. Now, the reason I'm telling you all this is this chapter that Lewis has gotten to in Book 4 is called Making and Begetting. And if you were to look up the chapter and read it, you would see that it's Lewis's defense of what he calls theology. Or you could say theological language that the church has always used in any denomination. Doesn't matter the denomination. The church has always used particular words to talk about God. So this is Lewis's defense of theological language. And he's contrasting it with the sort of experience that double rainbow all the way guy has had. Okay? So what is it, you think about that analogy for a second, what is it that puts people off about theology? or the kind of language that I just used to pray and in the creed. What is it that people maybe don't like about that kind of language? Any guesses? He said he didn't, probably isn't going to like that as much as the rainbow. Yeah.
It seems boring.
It seems foreign. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Perhaps dry and tedious.
Dry, tedious. Very good. Anything else? Very good. What Lewis says is, along those lines, he says, some people have an experience of God, which is a real experience, like the double rainbow all the way. I mean, he's appreciating God in nature. I'm making fun of it, but it's a legitimate experience. It's an experience of God in creation. So they have this real experience, but then they come into the church and they hear this language, these words about theology, about God, and one of them seems real. The rainbow experience seems real, and the theology seems less than real. And that's why, according to Lewis, some people don't like theology. They come into church and they find dogmas and formulas and doctrines and creeds. Outside of church, they may experience God, and I bet I'm always surprised at the number of sort of mystical experiences that people have had. In the desert, he says in the desert, in the mountains, outside, on the water, could be any number of things. Real experiences of God. They come into the church and they hear this, he calls theological language. Words like incarnation, baptism, sin, redemption, Eucharist, confession, gospel, law, dense words. Okay, we call theological words. You hear all that. Now these are very meaty words. They're not familiar. They may be foreign, but they have a lot of history behind them for us, for Christians. Those words are important because they have a long track record. Okay, but nevertheless, people that have this experience may feel like, but gosh, the rainbow is so much more real. Or the experience on the water is so much more real, and that's unreal. Well, Lewis has an analogy to help describe what he thinks is happening here. Let me describe that, and then I'll stop. Lewis says that it's like a man who looks at the Atlantic Ocean. If you picture this, a man's on the beach. He looks at the Atlantic Ocean. He sees the waves coming in from the beach. He even touches the waves. It's beautiful to him. He loves the experience. It's very real. Then he's given a map. Okay? He's given a map of the Atlantic Ocean. He opens up the map, and what's he see? On the map is different colors and lines, and it's a chart of the Atlantic Ocean. And Lewis says, well, how do these two relate to each other? Which one is real? And he wants to say two things about the map. First of all, he says, the map is based on what hundreds of thousands of people have experienced of the Atlantic Ocean. That's how you make a map. You take the combined experience down through history of hundreds of thousands of people of the Atlantic Ocean, and you come up with a map. The experience on the beach of the man standing is just his own experience. But the map puts all of those experiences together into one document. Okay? Obviously, he's saying that theology is like the map. Okay? And then he says the second thing. He says that standing on the beach and experiencing God just as you're standing on the ocean just there is a wonderful thing. And you don't need a map to just stand there and experience God. But if you want to go anywhere, you have to have a map. A map is absolutely necessary because you can't get any further than just the waves, your own experience, without the map. Okay? Your own vision is enough, and I would put it this way, your own vision is enough if you just want to stand before the rainbow and groan. But if you want to go further, you need the map of theology, which is based on the real experience of all of these Christians down through history back to the time of Christ. Okay, so he's defending that language that we use, and he stops here to do this because in the chapters ahead he's going to use this theological language, and he wants to say, you see the point, that it's just as real as that one person's experience on the beach. And if you want to go and read the chapter, then you can do that, and you'll see that he takes two words, making and begetting. Where's the begetting come from? It comes from the creed. I said it in the creed. He takes those two theological words and shows you why they're important, how much weight they carry. But I'll leave that to you to read if you would like to read it. But his point is that there's a great deal at stake in this theological language that Christians, whatever the denomination, want to use. So I hope you'll keep coming back. And on your way out, if you don't have a copy of Mere Christianity, I'd love to give you a free copy, and you can take it with you. And I'm not going to check up on you, but if you'd like to have a copy, we would love to give you a copy. And I hope that you have a double rainbow all the way kind of day today. And I also hope that you go to church somewhere on Sunday. So thanks for coming. Have a great afternoon.